Item 6.4, presentation of proclamation designating the month of August 2025 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month in Lake County and consideration of presentation by Motherwise. Supervisor Pyskill will be reading this proclamation. If you're here on behalf of this proclamation, please come up and join.
Do you want to come up?
Supervisor
Anyone
Pyskill.
can come up that's here for this proclamation. Come on.
It's okay. Got a little booth. I'm not right in the back. There's Hannah.
Board of Supervisors, County of Lake, State of California, proclamation designating the month of August 2025 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month in Lake County. Whereas breastfeeding is recognized as the optimal way to feed infants, and it is recommended that individuals breastfeed exclusively for 6 months and continue breastfeeding for at least the first 2 years of a child's life. And whereas the journey of breastfeeding looks different for every individual and what practice should be supported, and that practice should be supported without judgment. And whereas breast milk is the preferred source of nutrition for infants, adapting over time to meet the changing needs of a growing infant. And whereas breastfeeding is a proven primary prevention strategy, protecting both infants and breastfeeding individuals from a host of chronic and acute diseases and conditions, and building a foundation for lifelong health and wellness. And whereas breastfeeding provides a safe, reliable, and renewable food source, especially critical during natural disaster and emergency situations. And whereas the act of breastfeeding builds a strong emotional connection between the breastfeeding individual and infant, and a bond which lasts a lifetime. And whereas partners who are active during the breastfeeding experience provide support that lead to better outcomes for both the infant and the breastfeeding individual. And whereas employers that provide workplace lactation support experience an impressive return on investment, including lower healthcare costs, reduced absenteeism, reduced turnover rates, and improved morale, job satisfaction, and productivity. And whereas individuals who are successful at meeting their breastfeeding goals are more likely to be surrounded by a supportive team of family, friends, coworkers, employers, healthcare providers, child care providers, and other members of the community. And whereas communities which create such positive and supportive environments reap the benefits of healthier infants and parents and more productive workforce, improved household finances, and empowered families. And whereas the Lake County Breastfeeding Coalition, comprised of First 5 Lake, Motherwise, Partnership, Health Plan, Social Services, and other local agencies and community members whose efforts support families who choose to breastfeed. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Lake County Board of Supervisors does hereby designate the month of August 2025 as Breastfeeding Awareness Month, and urges all citizens to work together to empower parents and enable breastfeeding now and for the future. Passed and adopted this 5th day of August 2025, signed by our Chair of the Board, E.J. Crandall. So, this is a fairly new proclamation that we've added. I think is this their second year or third year? Maybe second. I think so, yeah. So thank you for bringing this, Motherwise, and thank you for the presentation and for all the supporting partners we have here. Breastfeeding is not easy, and it's very natural, but it's harder than people think. And especially when a first-time mother is trying all these things on their own, new to mothering, new to going through the experience of just giving birth, there's a lot of stress involved. And it really takes partners who will show up and just be there with you and hold your hand and sit with you and help you learn this new skill, because it is a skill. And it takes practice. And it takes a lot of support. So thank you for recognizing that, and for building this community, because it really wasn't here when I became a mom 16 years ago. There weren't a lot of resources in this county, and I had to travel out of county for those resources. So thank you for bringing this, and I will pass it over to Motherwise.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. My name is Sabrina Andrus. I'm the Executive Director of Motherwise, and I'm just here on behalf of the Breastfeeding Coalition, which is part of the Maternal Child Adolescent Health Advisory Board that advises the Board of Supervisors. So yeah, we're louder now and out there, and that is the entire purpose, or one of the main purposes of this proclamation, is to really kind of align with what our campaign is, our social media campaign this month, which will be run by the amazing Hannah. Check out the first 5 social media, and that is no shame around breastfeeding and infant feeding, because as Supervisor Pyska mentioned, it's a little bit difficult. It's not difficult for everyone, but every journey is very different. And the more we normalize talking about it, hopefully the easier it becomes. So the Breastfeeding Coalition was a separate entity sort of under MCAH. And then, like probably many of you go to a meeting and it's all the same people there from the other meetings. So why don't we just mush everything together, and then we'll have Breastfeeding Coalition part of MCAH. Some of us are here right now, and we've just done a pretty extensive kind of strategic planning and definition building and values building around what we want our work to look like. We've included that in the packet so that the board can take a look. But really briefly, so our purpose is fourfold. We want to advocate for systemic change to make breastfeeding and infant feeding easier in public spaces, in businesses. We want to support families through education. A lot of times there's very significant racial and ethnic disparities among who breastfeeds and who doesn't. The wide range of reasons for that. A lot of times it's stigma, shame, lack of understanding, lack of awareness or education, and then some institutionalized racism and systemic issues that exist in organizations that may not provide the best possible avenue for breastfeeding for folks. And so that's why we exist. And then we also want to collaborate with stakeholders to make sure that we're building a supportive breastfeeding sort of ecosystem, because as Supervisor Pyska mentioned, it really is about that community and not just mama. And then we want to promote equity by talking about this. So thank you very much for giving us the time. We encourage all of you to, if you've got someone you love who's breastfeeding or infant feeding in your family and in your life, to just ask them how they're doing and let them know they're doing okay. Because a lot of times just that acknowledgement is a huge, huge shift in someone's life. So thank you.
I'm not a public speaker, but I'll add a little something. So my name is Kim Schott. I'm a registered dietitian, a certified lactation educator, and the director for the eCenter WIC program here in Lake County. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and standing up in support of something that's very important. Board of Supervisors, thank you, and my executive committee and Breastfeeding Coalition for putting this together. Not only does recognizing and accepting breastfeeding as a form of feeding uplift it, but celebrating it, I think also empowers families to know that they have choices to make informed decisions. So thank you, everybody, for lifting up the mission of WIC, which is to grow and empower families, and also of eCenter to grow healthy communities and to make breastfeeding not only supported, but also celebrated. Thank you.
Anyone from the board?
Thank you for your work.
Supervisors.
I just want to add something. Sometimes I'm at first 5, not always there. I'm the alternate. But I appreciate everybody who does work for this. I think creating comfort in a space that unfortunately, socially, we've created discomforts that shouldn't be there. But also want to appreciate somebody who's missing. I'm glad I couldn't find you, Hannah, when you were in the audience. But Samantha Bond does a lot of great work, and I just want to put her up on a pedestal a little bit and just say I'm thankful for her work in working with the coalition and working with First 5. This is definitely one of her passions and one of her priorities as well.
I'd like to say that it's definitely a challenge, especially when you're a working mother. So, the pumping and all of that. And we do have an infant that was born in June. So we have one in our family, not me, my daughter. So, but I think that it is really important that the young mothers and the mothers feel comfortable being able to, nurse their own kids and give them the natural milk. So thank you so much for what you're doing.
So important. Thank you for your work. I'll open it up for a public comment. Anybody on Zoom? Oh, yeah, we do. Sorry, I couldn't see you.
Hi, Elaine Brown. I didn't hear you mention you have an office on Main Street. That's how I found out about you. I walked in one time and talked to some of the people there. So I know when I walk Main Street, I see it's a very beautiful place. And that's a place where people can go, right, to get their support right there on Main Street.
Yeah, Motherwise, not the coalition, but Motherwise. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
All right. Not seeing any other public comment. And then on Zoom, Susan?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to share with the board and the community that the County of Lake has recently installed a breastfeeding pod on the second floor of the courthouse.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Sam, I think we're ready for a picture.
Right away.